Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Things Good podcast. I'm your coach and your host, Cirillo. Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast that helps you with self-development, mental health, and your overall wellness, helping you become the greatest version of yourself. I want to know, how are my listeners doing? How is it in your world? What's going on? Are you okay? Is there something that you need? Is there a story you need to tell? Do you have a question? Talk to me. Talk to me. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your questions. I want to get to know you. Listen, if any of my friends or people who have come into relations with me, they know that I'm a good listener and I give pretty helpful advice. On another note, we have a lovely guest by the name of Jayme. The episode is titled The Comeback Story: Peace, Purpose, and Presence. And I will be interviewing Coach Jayme, who is an executive wellness coach, neurolinguistic programming practitioner, speaker, and author who helps high-performing, financially stressful individuals find the emotional and relational fulfillment they often overlook. How many of you are working hard? How many of you are really just going and succeeding at all your goals, but you're overlooking the one thing that really matters: your joy, your fulfillment? This episode is for you. She is a lover of Christ, CrossFit, and coffee, and Jayme brings a unique blend of faith, resilience, and strategy to the work that she does. Her journey includes seasons of walking away and returning to God, overcoming trauma, loss, and identity struggles, each time discovering deeper levels of peace, purpose, and joy in His presence. Today, she uses both her testimony and tools to help others live whole, rooted, and free. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jayme on, but before then, I'm going to play some music for you to listen to until she joins us. Welcome, Jayme. How are you today?
I am doing so good, but even more stoked to be here. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited because when we had the pre-interview, your energy, your smile, your presence was just amazing. So I was like, yeah, I gotta have her on here.
Well, let's hope I live up to that expectation then.
Okay, so to start off, I do have an icebreaker for you. This is a new thing that I'm doing on my podcast, so I kind of like it. So the icebreaker question is, if your life right now was a movie title, what would it be called? It's a little tough one, I know. I have to answer.
No. Because I even like was prepared for this, but then I like in the moment things change. Okay, so if my life was a movie now, what would it be called? Joy in it all.
I like that.
Mm.
I like that. I mean, it could have even been the comeback story, the title of the podcast episode.
Oh, missed opportunity.
It's okay. It's okay. I get it. I love that one though. I love that title. And I can see it. I can see the joy all over you. So get into the questions. You have walked through seasons of leaving and returning to God.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what that's like. What did those moments teach you about yourself?
Yeah, so kind of just I guess to give the viewers a little bit more, I was born and raised Catholic, and so I'm blessed that I was introduced to God from inception, right? But for me, everything was very much like a rule and not a relationship. And so I like knew about him, but I didn't know him. And so with that, I think I never really got a chance to experience him. And there's a lot of adversities. And I mean, I know none of us make it through life without adversity anyways, but a lot of darkness that I encountered throughout my life. And in those moments, knowing there was a God, but being angry with God, but then also thinking that I was the one in control of all things, And so I pushed him out of my life many of times. And one of the things I guess I mainly have learned is that even every time that I removed myself from him, he never strayed. He still always remained. Um, and I even had somebody challenge me this one time of to think through some of the darkest moments in my life and think of where God was in that room. And so it's just like I learned that he was always there, regardless. But I think that some other things that I had learned through leaving and coming back to my faith is as I matured and developed a relationship and truly learned how to know and experience God, was that I don't have to be the one that's in control. And there's a far bigger plan in place. And I can know and trust that my Heavenly Father has good plans and that the battle has already been won because we know the end of the story. And
Right.
so, because of that, I don't have to feel like it's on me to carry the world on my shoulders.
I
I feel
love
like
that.
I just took a journey through, done like 6 different like things that I learned and didn't really share a whole lot, but hopefully that made sense.
Oh, definitely. What I got was you were not alone in those moments where you thought you were.
Yeah.
And the second one was the art of surrendering,
Yes.
learning that it's so much better when you just lose control, when you just let go.
Yes.
Oh, and that right there that's a hard one. I'm not gonna lie. It's a
Oh,
very hard one
100%.
because we're so it's in our nature, it's in our egoic nature to want to control things and want to control outcomes and situations. So learning that, I'm sure when you began to learn to surrender, things began to change in your life.
And you know what's really cool is that I just wrapped up interviewing on another podcast right before this one, and we were talking on this very thing that in our fleshly ways, right, we want to have authority over how we let go and how we surrender. Like how many times people are praying, I just want to surrender, I want to surrender, but we're still wanting to do it on our terms and through a specific expectation that we have set on it. And so I think that the beautiful part about this is, and also something I can even already hopefully share with whoever is listening, is that this is like a muscle that you practice. This isn't a one and done, I let go and God takes over and then I frolic through the flowers, never to have to figure this out again. We have a tendency of setting something down and wanting to pick it back up. But when we continue to draw closer to Him and we practice the power of like, it's in your will what's meant to happen, I can trust that you're going to do something with this and that I'm protected. The more you practice that muscle of trust and surrender in Him, the easier and the more familiar it becomes. But it isn't like a one and done, I let go and let God and then everything, we danced off into the sunset.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that and your vulnerability and sharing that as well. So, was there a specific point where you felt God pulling you back in? Like, what was the last straw?
Oh, girl, I've had a lot of those. I've had many come to Jesus moments. One in particular, like, can I get like real vulnerable?
That real. You just can't curse.
Oh no, no, that is unnecessary. Those are just filler words anyways.
Right.
Okay, so as I kind of already mentioned, I have a pretty dark past and I have a very diverse resume personally and professionally through that. I've come from a broken home. Anger and alcohol raised me. I've lost people to murder, suicide, overdose, car accidents, cancer. I attempted to end my life on multiple occasions. I was in abusive relationships. I was raped. I had the issues of drugs, alcohol, eating disorders. I threw myself into work as my drug of choice. The gym was my drug of choice. You name it, it all happened. And so there was one moment in particular when I was in this very abusive relationship that I had attempted to end my life. And I was crazy intoxicated. I threw myself out of a moving vehicle and then ran the rest of the way back to my mom's house and my parents being divorced. My dad's the one trying, he's whose vehicle I threw myself out of, and now he's trying to get into his ex-wife's house as his daughter is a whole hot mess. And I locked him out, locked myself in the bathroom, and tried to end my life and was not successful because I was too intoxicated. And the next thing I remember is I'm laying in my bed and my mom is in my bed with me and she's bear hugging me and I am begging my mom, like, I don't want to be here anymore. I won't do it unless you give me permission. which I can't even imagine putting a mother through that. So like there's that. And so to kind of even go back to um, a moment when God was pulling me back in. It's not even something I realized until years later of looking back, like where was God in that moment? And it was his embrace and his protection over both of us, the strength for my mom to make sure that nothing happened. And then also to make my attempts unsuccessful on clearly multiple ways I tried that evening. And then just over time, I think that like I didn't know that I was leaning towards him. Um, but I started wanting to go to church and do things like that. And it wasn't immediate. I want to also make that very clear because I know a lot of
Right.
times we love the power of a testimony, but we think that we aren't chosen or special enough sometimes if we don't have this powerful, miraculous experience, right? So this was something that happened years later. And I still, again, didn't realize it at the time until I found old journals. And I didn't even remember like going to my Bible. I only went to church like maybe once or twice a month, if that. But that was one of the moments. And then another one was when I was burning myself out of working a gajillion jobs, was in the gym 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I got put on bed rest for an entire week at the age of 25 with a massive kidney
Wow.
infection. Um, and that was my second moment that what I'm doing isn't working. And I was forced to rest and I had nowhere to go. And God randomly had a phone call come through that led to the decision of changing um, how I was choosing to work for myself that drastically changed my life. So those are two, probably some of the biggest moments that come to mind right now.
Wow.
I could probably think of way more, but those are the two I'll settle for now.
Right, right. It's amazing because even though, you drinking alcohol and getting drunk wasn't very helpful during that time, but it was the distraction. You're not being able to actually complete the act was a blessing in disguise. Have you being burned out. And I'm finding that God is using those very moments very often lately because we're in this toxic hustle culture where we just have to go and move and do and be and have all these multiple jobs and we got to get it done. He is using those moments to say we're not doing things the same. Like we're
Yeah.
not doing things the same. It's time to slow down. And so I love
Oh,
that
yeah.
that was the moment.
Well, and I think it's just super powerful too. And we can talk about this if we have time later. But I also have the wonderful opportunity to do prison ministry. So I get to go out, and it's a high security prison here in Texas. There's over 1,300 ladies in the prison. We get to go and do church service with them in the chapel. We get to worship with them. We get to pray with them, all of the things. And there's so many ladies that I have met in that prison where they were into witchcraft, they were struggling with drugs and alcohol, they were in bad situations, they found God in prison. And so I think that that's the beautiful way that God loves us so much, right? Because if God forced us to love him, that's not really love, that's manipulation. And so he granted us free will. But what happens is he allows us and he takes us to that point that we can't do anything, that we have no choice but to surrender and drop to our knees, where he does get the opportunity to be like, I have to call out for you because I've run out of I've run out of options. And
Right.
it's in that moment when we cling to him most. And if we can just remember that and not just use him as the genie in the bottle as the last call, when we can't control it anymore, when we realize that we have that access without having to take it to the point, like that's the beautiful part. But more times than not, he meets us at our knees.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely agree. So you work with high performing, successful people. Why do you think emotional and relational fulfillment often gets overlooked?
So for these individuals, I like to say that work is their drug of choice. That is their coping mechanism. That is their area that they tend to thrive in and they can control well, because it's safe. It doesn't require much emotion. The world sells us on this power of money and fame and all of that to bring us happiness, but they're lacking connection. And that's why emotionally and relationally they're struggling. And then more times than not, because I work believers and non believers both, but it's they're constantly chasing that sense of love and fulfillment. And I really do believe that God has called me to modern day ministry where it's like you may not walk into a church, or if you're going to church, you may just be checking it off the list. I get to bring that ministry to you and help you slow down enough to be like, hey, you may be successful by the world standard, yet you're still empty. Like, let's tap into why that is, and let me introduce you to a better way. Let me remind you of the better way. Let me show you how you can get closer to that better way.
Right. And I like that you mentioned that you're doing God's work outside of the church, in other words, because a lot of people get caught up and we think, oh, just because we believe in something or believe in particular, system, that we have to do it within the church. Like, you're doing God's work outside, and that is amazing.
We are the church. Church is not a place, it's a people, and it is our duty to go out and bring God's children home. So more times than not, that doesn't happen in the church.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, okay, now you talk about living whole, rooted, and free. What does that actually look like in daily life?
Yes. So kind of how I said earlier, right? Is that there's a difference between like knowing God and knowing God. I had a pastor share this one time of like Michael Jordan, Tim Tebow, whoever, right? Like you pick a famous athlete and like you watch all their games, like you study, like you know the stats, you know where they went to college, you know when they got drafted, all of that. But then if you see Tim Tebow or like Michael Jordan out in public and you just start spitting stats, they're like, but you don't know me. Like, you know about me, but you don't know me. Like, you don't know what I do on a daily basis. Like, you don't know how I'm feeling and like what I'm focusing on in life right now. Like, so there's not a relationship there. And so for me, and I have found this, and I probably in the last 4 years is when I really have learned to experience like real true peace that like nothing in this world can give us, that like that is truly the gift of God that we have available to us right now. I found that in proximity to him. So for me, this isn't just, hey, I'm going to church on Sunday, I'm checking off the fact that I did some devotionals and I read my Bible. No, like I am sitting in relationship with God. I do my best to try to have like sometimes I'll close my eyes and I imagine that like Jesus is sitting across the table from me as I'm drinking my coffee. I'll lay on my floor with worship music and I just genuinely am like, Lord, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm not trying to talk to you about what you want me to do today. I just want to be. I just want to be here with you in your presence. And with that, just like you would with a physical relationship, right? Like if you and I, if we want to get closer, if we want to trust and build connection, we have to spend time together. We have to know one another. We have to trust one another. And so I really, really started experiencing that wholeness and that freedom by doing that, of genuinely creating that relationship with my heavenly Father, not just reading the stats in the Bible. Yes, I'm still in my word every day. I'm a big believer. I will go to the word before I go to the world, always. And I make sure that outside of taking in that wisdom that he's so graciously given me in this powerful book, I make sure that I make it a point to spend time with him too.
Right. There's so much power in just presence and just really
Mm-hmm.
being still and really just acknowledging your surroundings and just not doing anything. A lot of times, again, we're so performative. We want to, feel like we need to do something to gain approval or to get closer. And that's not necessarily the case. That's literally a lie.
There is a
Performance will not
fantastic,
get you anywhere.
yes, there is a fantastic book by Jordan Rayner called the Sacredness of Secular Work. And it talks about like doing your ministry within the workplace because God still did put us here to work. Like he gave us authority and dominion over this earth. And he also is still the one that paid for all of our sins and is granting us this opportunity to experience what he's created in that. And so when we try to swing the pendulum to the extreme that we have to be human doings and do. No. God lets us. God could use a rock to bless us and to do whatever. He created it all. He can do whatever he wants whenever he wants. He chose us to be a part of that. And so that is why it's important for us to first go to our source and have that connection first. And then the gift is that we get to go out and be that blessing. We get to be blessed to be blessings to other people.
Right.
So both are coexisting. I think that's also important too, because we have a
Oh,
tendency of
definitely,
swinging
definitely.
the pendulum, right? It's like, well, if I'm not performing, then I'm not doing anything. Like, I feel
Right,
like in ways we're both the Mary and the Martha. It's good
right,
for us to work, but also he just wants us to just be with him.
right. There's a healthy balance for everything,
Yeah.
isn't there? So, what's the biggest identity struggle that you had to overcome personally?
Exactly what we were talking about. I always thought that I had to perform for God. For a lot of my life, it was first that I wasn't deserving, I wasn't worthy. And so I had to work for people to love me. I had to prove myself for people for them to want to be with me. I had to do so much for people to get them to love me because I didn't believe that people could just love me who I am as I am. So it started with that. Then when I started developing this relationship with God, then it was, I'm not in my Bible enough. I didn't tithe enough money. I didn't help enough people. I thought of myself and nobody else today. And like, I was like, now, like, God, are you proud of me? Did I do enough for you to want to bless me? Am I doing enough to make it to heaven? Like, are you proud? Like, it was, everything was so performative. And so for me, it was the identity that was tied in that. And I remember one of the coolest experience that happened. It was a mess. It was a mess, but I was laying on my floor and there's this song called Nothing Else by Cody Carnes. And I'm laying on my floor and I have my eyes closed and I'm staring up at the ceiling. And I imagine that I'm laying there holding Jesus's hand and we're looking at the ceiling together. And like, I feel like I'm about to speak some Christianese here on everybody. Um, but like you know how like there's those moments where it's like obviously I didn't hear a voice, but like I heard a voice, like not audibly, but it's like I just felt this sense of this voice. And so like I'm laying there with my eyes are closed, I'm just like soaking in this song. And I had this like sense that like Jesus turned and looked at me and he's like, kiddo, do you know how proud I am of you? And all of a sudden, I like the flood works were flying out, and I'm like sobbing uncontrollably. But he's still just staring at me, and his face didn't change. And then all of a sudden, I like hear, right, like this knowing, this hearing of, but kiddo, do you know that that's not why I love you? Like, I don't need you to do that. And in that moment, girl, I ripped my hand away and I turned my back while I was laying on the floor. Like, I turned my back on him because even in that moment, and this was like just a year ago, y'all, like, I'm just being honest, even in that moment, like I was like, no, 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 like I don't know how to accept that. Like, what do you like? You put me here for a purpose. I have to do your work. I have to do this. Like, so I think that that was the identity and the lie that I've continued to have to chip away at. That like, yes, God has given me this opportunity and He's called me for such a time as this, but that's not priority number one,
Right.
right? That proximity is. And so continuing to just remember every single day that, like, Lord, you have me here. Like, you know my thoughts before I even think them. You know what I'm going to do before I even do it. Like, I need to know, trust, and believe that, like, where I'm sitting right now, like, is enough. Who I am right now in this moment is enough. I'm leaps and bounds, like, completely transformed to who I was a year ago, 10 years ago. Like, I'm like, you love me as I am, and you have more in store. So that's the new identity I'm still working on daily.
I love that. I love that because, excuse me, performance can be very, very detrimental when
Yeah.
it comes to serving God or walking with God. And I think a lot of people fall into that and then they wonder why they're not happy. They wonder why they don't have any joy. I mean, there's joy all over you and you're still serving and it's happy. I mean, it's important to keep that balance where you know that it's not all about performance. It's about resting, it's about being still. And so I love that you were able to find that on your
Yeah.
journey with God.
Yeah.
That's amazing because not many people find that. It really is. It's hard to find.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Okay, so you blend faith, resilience, and strategy in your coaching. How do you see this shaping the future of leadership and wellness?
Oh, let's go. So for me, I just kind of like how God's way seems upside down to the world's way, right? Like the world tells us save, 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 invest, 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 and that's when you have more. God says give more and you'll have more, right? So it's like already the way of following God is disruptive to the way the rest of the world is. Like, I mean, even that was the whole point of why Jesus came, right? Like He didn't come to abolish the law, he came to fulfill it. And in that, it was to make sure it was very clear of what that was. And so for me, I that's what I feel like this gift is that I have, is to disrupt our sense of leadership. Um, like the way that I like to describe it is, the reason why I work with the people that I do is they've mastered the work ethic. They know how to be successful. They know how to lead. They have all of that. They have this massive impact. But what I see when I'm working with these leaders is that they are just as broken, if not more broken and lost than these people who don't have those things. But if the world is trying to be like them, there's obviously a massive disconnect. And so in me having an opportunity to disrupt how they're choosing to lead, how they're managing their time, and the motivators behind the reason of success or the impact that they're trying to do with what they're doing in life, if I can help shift that, I feel like the chain is just, it's going to follow down. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's kind of how I project that happening I mean, and you even, I'm not going to even just say just specifically with myself, like you even look and you see all these celebrities coming out of the woodwork, and you see Christian music like taking over the music industry, and how many people are living differently because of that. And I think that like people are recognizing more and more that the way that they're doing it isn't working. And so how do we find a better way? We disrupt, and not in a messy, toxic way.
Right.
We don't call people out, we call people up.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I love it. The disruptor.
Yeah.
So what about for those, if you don't mind me asking, you said you work with non-believers as well, right?
Mhm.
So do
Yeah.
you work with non-believer leadership? Like, do you go into businesses and things like that? Okay,
Yeah.
so
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
how would you approach a business that is not necessarily faith-based?
Great question. And because I'm very big on this, the reason why I mentioned, and I know that like, whoever could be listening it could be different. And it's never my place to judge on any of that. The reason why I share part of my testimony, my entire family is Catholic, and I don't bash Catholicism, whatever, like at all, because like to me, that was how I understood truth so well. And like following the law was because that was what I raised in. And so like it served a big purpose for me, but there was also the things that kept me from a relationship at the time. And because of that experience, I had a lot of people shame me with the Bible. I had people throw scripture at me, or I would have people try to act more righteous than me by throwing the Bible at me, right? And think of, let's pull faith out of this for a second, right? Let's pull religion, let's pull that out of it. If somebody is selling you something and they're pushing you hard and you're like, what? Like I didn't even know what you're like, you know what I mean? Like it's scuzzy and people don't like it feel how it feels. And so how I approach just in general, whether it's when I'm coaching people or just how I live my life. Um, I'm going to go on another side tangent here, and I promise I'll make my way back. I struggle when people tell me that they're humble, because I'm like, but if you're humble, you wouldn't have to tell me you're humble, because I would just be able to see that you're humble. That's how I feel about my faith. I shouldn't have to tell you I'm a Christian. I should be leading by example and being the light of God so powerfully that you're like, something's different about you. What is it? I shouldn't have to tell you I'm a believer, because you should see it. And so for me, I have had many people, and I've even have some clients who are like, Jayme, like, I'll be honest with you. They're like, I still don't believe in God. They're like, but I'm so like, it makes me excited and passionate to see you talk and live the way that you do and express how you feel about God. And to me, that's all I need. I am
Right.
exposing, I am putting that in their world and giving them that invitation. It's not my job to bring them to salvation. God's got it.
Right.
Right. And so for me, whether it's somebody who's a believer or not, like I'm going to walk in and I am going to lead by example. I don't have to bring it into it. Yes, I am not going to shy away from telling the wisdom that scripture tells me. I will reference that. And I will also not use it in a way to throw it at you. I will just simply be as I'm called to be as a child of God.
Right. Because your ultimate goal is to help these business people, these companies, these five, Fortune companies, to find fulfillment, to find joy, to find, that relational fulfillment. And so I love that you're still able to pour into communities or businesses that are not necessarily on the same belief system as you, but you still have the joy and the passion to help others find that. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
I love that, Jayme. Okay, so all right, this is the last question before we wrap it up. I had so much fun with you. And I do have one more icebreaker before we even get into that. Hold on one second. So, this icebreaker.
Okay.
What is the most unexpected thing that made you burst out laughing during a tough time?
Ooh, it's so funny because I was actually just talking with somebody about this other day. I have a very dear friend of mine who also used to be a client. And right after her and I were done working together, her husband was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. And he's now been navigating this for over 2 years. And so she was even talking about that like laughter is honestly the ultimate healer in all of this. And she's a strong believer too. Like this woman represents the joy of God over anybody I've ever seen in my life, especially with all she's going through and still being able to represent that way. And she's a part of a grief support group. And it's finding these random moments that are just so silly that you can't help but bust out and laugh. I can't think of one of my own personally right now. Because I'm thinking of like one of the most I had a death that happened in July. And so like there wasn't necessarily anything that happened that brought this like full blown like unexpected. It was that for me, I love to dance. I love listening to music. Like that is my happy place. And so that's the only thing that keeps coming to mind is that even though I was in like absolute misery, I know that joy and pain coexist. And so I tap
Right.
into the joy that I could find in dancing is what brings that for me. So I know I didn't necessarily answer it, but I hope that
It's
counts.
okay. Because honestly, when I see you as, and I might be wrong, but I see you as someone who, like you said, finds joy in little situations. And for some reason, I had a vision of you dancing. So yeah, I was like, she likes to do silly stuff because I'm that way. I'm like, I'll just break out and do something silly, and I'm like, I literally crack myself up, like I do.
Yeah. Well, and I think going back to the first icebreaker, right? When you asked me what the title of my life, if it was a movie, it'd be Joy in It All, right? Like just as Paul tells us, like I have like if oh you want to kill me, cool, I get to go be with my heavenly Father. Oh, you want to keep me around, cool, I get to bring more people with me. And like I've had everything and I've had nothing, but I've got the most amazing, perfect creator, like in my spirit, in my back pocket, protecting me, taking care of me. Like I can find joy in that. I'm allowed to still hurt at the same time, but like, no, like the sun is shining. Like yellow always makes me just happy. And like my dog, when he just like randomly has a little, I call him his zoomies after he goes to the bathroom and then he's like, oh, I have so much more room in my belly. And then he just sprints around and I'm like, I love it. It's awesome. Like you're just going crazy and this is so cute.
I love it. And that is what this podcast is about, just finding moments of joy, moments that you can be grateful for. So I love
Yeah.
that you are shining your light on this podcast. So thank you so much for that. So, what is one question you wish people would ask themselves more often?
Such a good question. Why does this matter to me?
Mm,
Because I think, and again, this is so perfect coming off of the podcast I was just on before this one, because we talked about this too. So many people feel they'll be happy when they lose weight. People will be happy when they have money. Once they're able to afford this particular house, once they do all these things, then life can all of a sudden be good and they think that they can enjoy it. And I'm like, but you're missing out on the joy, because the joy is something that the world does not give you. That is a gift from God. A sound mind is a gift from God. That is not something the world gives you. You don't earn peace. It's already available for you right here and now. And so I think asking yourself, like, when you catch yourself wanting to perform, when you catch yourself feeling that you have to do, when you catch yourself feeling that you're falling behind compared to Sasha on your highlight reels, right? I don't know where Sasha came from because I don't even have a friend named Sasha that I can think of right now, but we're going with Sasha. Shout out to you for your highlight reels. I bet they're amazing. But like, is asking yourself, like, why does this matter to me? Like at the end of the day, like 20 years from now, like if I'm looking back, would it have been worth it? Like, what will drastically change about my life that would make it better than what it is right now? Why is this truly important to me? And I think a lot of times we'll surprise ourselves to be like, you know what? Like, just because I want to keep up with Sasha, like, that's kind of silly. Like, that at the end of the day isn't making me a better human. That doesn't give me an opportunity to help more people. That didn't make me remember more amazing memories with my kids and my significant other and my friends and my community. And I think when we allow ourselves to ask that, like we can really start to shift on where we'd rather be pursuing and putting our energy. So why does this matter?
I love that. Why does this matter? I love that. I love that. Jayme, this has been awesome. Thank you
Thank you for
so
having me.
much for blessing us with your light and your love. Tell our listeners how they can find you. If you have any books, any programs, let us know.
All of the above. Thank you so much. So I am Coach Jayme, and I always say I'm the Jayme with no eyes. So Jayme. You can cyber stalk me. I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. I have a boundaries course that anybody can take on their own time, and then they get a call with me afterwards to talk through it, because everybody says they have boundaries, but they actually don't know what a boundary is, which is why they don't honor their boundaries or why they aren't consistent in their boundaries. So that's what that's all about. I do have a book that I had just released out back in April. It's called Beyond the Words, 123 Quotes to Inspire Action and Growth. And so this is not a book you have to read from start to finish. There's 123 quotes, but the difference with this is that with every quote is part of my testimony, how I perceive the quote, and how you could maybe see this differently. And then I leave you with a call to action or a sense of encouragement to go do something with what you just read, rather than just being like, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to go about my day. No, like this will give you more inspired action to do something with what you just read. So I have that. And I have my own podcast, which I haven't posted any episodes on lately, but Make Time for Your Mind with Coach Jayme. Yeah, cyberstalk me.
Awesome. I didn't know you had your own podcast. Awesome. I will
Yes.
definitely share the link. And when I go to edit the episode, I will definitely provide that information for you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. This has truly been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.